All right, Coach, we reached part 4 of the 2017-18 season preview, kind of bringing it all back together. We've talked about the rosters we talked about last season, but now let's bring it back full circle here. So, the makeup of this team. Talk about the makeup of this team, what you think about the guys, and overall, how do you look at the team?
Well, I think, obviously we've got a good group. I think anytime you go into a season until you play games, it's impossible to really know, all the intangible stuff. You hope you have talent and character that gives you a shot. I think we have both of those. Obviously, what'll be answered over the next few months is how committed we are, how together we are, and how willing we are to sacrifice, and all those things play into what it takes to be successful and have a special year. Everything starts with being committed to getting better individually and collectively. If you're not committed in those areas, then you have no chance. If you are, then you'll see. You see if you're good enough. You don't know. There's no guarantees if you are committed, but without the commitment to get better, both individually and collectively, you have no chance. So we'll gauge that over the next few weeks and months. And like we always say here, you're good if you play good, and paper doesn't win you anything. And so we'll find out over time. Where we are, but I like the talent level. I like the people in the room. I think we have good guys, and again, that gives you a chance. But now, certainly, are we committed? Are we together? Are we willing to sacrifice for one another? Those will dictate, the type of season we have, and looking forward to the challenge and opportunities that lay ahead for us.
And you always talk about, you want to play your best when it matters the most. What's it going to take for this team to get to that point where it's the best version of itself when it matters the most?
Oh, it's the same always every year. It's the day-by-day improvement. But we talked about being committed to getting better, to coming in every day and doing the work necessary. I think it's easy to, during seasons you're always battling. When you're having success, you're fighting egos, and you're fighting complacency, and you're fighting people taking their foot off the gas and relaxing. When you're losing, you're fighting adversity, and you're fighting failure, and you're trying to instill confidence. The best way to go about your business is to not be overly affected by what happened yesterday. Certainly you want to get the truth out of it, learn from it. And then you got to move forward to what's on next, because we always say, whatever happens, the next day comes, and you got to be ready for the challenges that next day presents. And living in the past, whether it's good or bad, is going to do you no good. For the thing you have control over is how you prepare, how you practice, and how you play the next game. And that's where our focus has to be. I hope our team is a group that embraces that process of growth, embraces and is committed to continual improvement, coming back the next day. And we've had teams in the past, I think we've had 3 winning streaks over the last few years of 20 games or more, and I think those teams really epitomized that. They weren't overly moved. We were able to stay focused on the task at hand and come in every single day, put your signature on your work, put your best foot forward, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, sometimes you're successful, sometimes you're not, and whether you are or you're not, you really got to approach it the same way, analytically, learn from it, and then move forward to what's on next. And that's hard in today's day and age. There's a lot of noise out there, particularly more so now than ever with social media and people telling you you're great or people telling you you're terrible. And again, you got to kind of be unaffected by praise, criticism, and much easier said than done. It sounds easy, but in theory, but in reality, it's probably the hardest part for any team.
And what do you think is going to be the one thing that dictates kind of the outcome and the overall success of this season?
I think how good we get defensively. I think what level are we able to reach defensively. I think we don't have a definitive defensive stopper right now, and we're going to have to find that a lockdown guy. We're going to also have to be even better than in previous years in terms of team defense and our rotations and our help and our recoveries and taking two and understanding how all that works in concert. And there's no better way to see how connected you are than to watch a team defend, right? So we have to get great defensively. I think offensively, you're going to make shots. Some nights you're not. I like our team offensively. I think we have a lot of guys that put the ball in the basket. We have a lot of depth of scoring. And I think navigating the defensive end and becoming really solid and stout on that end of the floor, which obviously includes defensive rebounding, that's the number one challenge. And I think with the depth we have, because really you get past about 6 and there's a lot of sameness right now, I think that's probably one of our great strengths is going to be that we're about 12 deep, but it's a lot of mouths to feed, right? So how do guys handle it when it's not their night? Or do they have the character to be in on the team and put the team first and understand it's not going to be your night every single night, and that they're able to cheer and support their teammates. And again, that's part of the togetherness part, right? And that they respect one another, they're compassionate towards one another, they care about each other and about each other's success. So those are probably going into it the two biggest challenges that I see, and they're and I think, like we covered in the first question, you still have those intangible things. We'll see how committed we are over the long haul.
And you've talked about this over the course of your careers, that every team has its own story, has its own kind of identity. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we can't predict the story of this season, but kind of look into your crystal ball, and what do you think the identity of this team will be?
Well, I hope it's one that you want ultimately for your teams to be a joyful, cohesive group. Gives you the best chance. You want guys that are locked in. You're always integrating and assimilating new pieces in, and we've got to do that. We've got a lot of guys that haven't played here before that are going to have to play roles for us. And again, it's not about they got to do what they do well. It's not about doing stuff they can't do. It's not about trying to get outside of themselves. Those new guys that are coming in, they've got to do what they do at the highest level possible. Everybody on the team, whether it's redshirt guys that are on the scout team, whether it's your leading scorer, whether it's glue guys, everybody's got a role. And everybody's got to be great in their role, and every single player is important, and every single detail is important, and every day is important, and that's vital, I think, for the growth of this team. I think when you look at the 5 guys that are back, that have been here, we got really high expectations for those 5 guys. Those guys have got to be great for us, and by great I mean they got to perform at a high level on a consistent basis. They've got to be able to sustain it and be consistent, game in, game out, for us to have a chance to be good. And I think they've got to set the tone with how we respond to adversity. It's probably an overlooked thing for a lot of teams, but that's, those guys have been a part of some really good teams. They've had their ups and downs. They've been through, particularly Dorian Emmanuel, year 4. They've had a lot of success. They've had some failures. They've had some highs. They've had some lows. They've dealt with injuries. They've been they've kind of run the gamut. But they got to set the tone with how we respond to adversity. Every season has adversity. Every season, every game has usually there's difficulties inside the game. They got to set the example, set the tone for how we're going to handle adversity. They've got to be consistent and play at a high level on both ends of the floor, night in, night out. Those 5 guys have to drive the bus, and then the guys behind them have to do what they do well. The role players have to be stars in their role, exceptional in their roles, and that'll give us a chance, hopefully, by the end, to be as good as we can be, and that's the goal every year. And again, some years that's good enough to make the Final Four. Maybe some years that's not good enough to win the league. Who knows? But if you're not doing that, if you're not coming in and getting better every single day, and that's not the commitment's not there, then you have no chance to have a great season.
Well, and just give some final thoughts on the 2017-18 season. It's here, and just what are you thinking?
Well, I think we're excited. Again, we got a lot of new pieces that we're assimilating and putting in, and we're gonna focus on trying to grow together, trying to hit our head and our ceiling every single game. Obviously, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but I enjoy the group. I think we got good kids. They're talented. I think they're unselfish. We've got a lot of questions that will be answered in the next few months, but like every year, we want to grow together as the year goes on. We want to get sharper and sharper, and we want to be trying to play our best basketball. And at the end of the year, when it matters most, there in the postseason, and certainly there'll be tremendous challenges. We've got a great schedule, both obviously at a conference, and then you look at the grinds you go through and how difficult it is night in, night out in the Southland Conference. You don't bring it. You're not focused. You're not playing with an edge. The average teams will get you, and the good teams are going to drub you. So we'll have to be ready every single night, play our best. We lose sight of it sometimes here, but it's hard to win. It is, and we'll go do our work, put our best foot forward every single day, and hopefully every single game, and let the chips fall they may. But I'm excited. I think the people will enjoy this team. I think they'll enjoy watching them play. I think it'll be a fun style of basketball. I think the kids will play hard. I think they'll represent and play the game the right way and represent what this community has come to expect from our guys. So we're excited to get started.